There comes a moment in every life, quiet, invisible to the world, when the universe leans in and whispers, now. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. A moment when hesitation must die and something greater must be born. That something is decision. Real decision. Not a wish, not a preference, not a vague intention wrapped in the safety of maybe, but a decision carved in stone, unshakable, unyielding, and free from the infection of fear. Understand this, the world doesn't move for the indecisive. Fate bows only to those who decide. History doesn't remember those who waited for certainty. It remembers the ones who stepped forward when the ground was still trembling beneath them. The ones who said yes before the path was clear. Who said go while others begged for signs. Who jumped not because they were fearless, but because their decision was louder than their doubt. Fear is a liar, a seducer, a master of disguise. It wears the mask of logic, caution, and timing. It speaks the language of delay. It tells you to wait just a little longer until you're ready, until you're smarter, until it's safer. But behind that mask, fear has only one mission: to paralyze your power. And the only antidote is decision. When Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times to invent the light bulb, he didn't negotiate with fear. He didn't ask if he was good enough. He decided. He decided that no matter the odds, no matter the failure, no matter how long it took, he would not quit. That decision burned hotter than his setbacks. It created a current that pulled the impossible into reality. When Lincoln lost election after election, when he was mocked, broken, buried with grief and doubt, what carried him through wasn't motivation, it was decision. A decision rooted not in popularity or approval, but in purpose. He decided that freedom was worth fighting for, even if it cost him everything, even if he stood alone. And when Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination, when banks told him his ideas were foolish dreams for children, he didn't pause to prove himself. He decided. He decided that imagination was the future, that if the world didn't believe in his vision, he'd build a world that would, brick by brick, frame by frame, until the world could finally see what he saw all along. This is the power of decision. It separates the spectators from the warriors, the average from the legends. The power lies not in waiting for fear to vanish, but in moving while it screams. Because every life-changing moment, every empire, every invention, every transformation began when someone decided to move forward anyway. And you are standing at that moment right now. Whether you see it or not, whether the world knows it or not, the battlefield is inside. The silence before the storm, the pull between fear and destiny. You may be wrestling with a dream so big it scares you. A business you want to build, a life you want to escape, a future calling your name in whispers you barely admit. And somewhere inside, a voice is saying, "What if I fail?" But the real question is, what if you don't? What if the thing you fear is the gate to everything you've ever wanted? What if behind that fear is a strength that hasn't yet had a reason to roar? What if you're not waiting on a sign? What if the sign is waiting on you? This is not a rehearsal. This is not a theory. This is your life, and it bends at the mercy of your decisions. Every time you choose to wait, you hand power to fear. Every time you choose to move, you take it back. So stop begging for permission, stop negotiating with your own doubt, stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect you. None of it exists. What does exist is this: a single decision, made without fear, made without escape routes or excuses, made with the full weight of your will behind it. And when you make it, truly make it, the universe shifts. Your spine straightens, your eyes clear, the fog of uncertainty burns off like morning mist, and the world starts to move, not because the obstacles vanished, but because you did. You vanished from the crowd of the almost. You vanished from the line of the hesitant. You became something else entirely. A person who decides. Decision is not just a mental act. It's a spiritual commitment. It's the moment your soul takes the wheel and says, I will no longer be ruled by doubt, distraction, or delay. And once you step into that state, into that fire, everything soft in you burns away. All that's left is clarity. Not the kind of clarity that comes from data, the kind that comes from conviction. You don't calculate your way to greatness, you commit your way there. And that commitment begins with an inner shift, a final, irreversible statement to yourself. This is who I am now. This is what I stand for. This is what I will no longer tolerate. That's when the old life starts to crack. Not because it's broken, but because it can no longer contain you. Most people never make that shift. They spend their entire lives circling the edge of their potential, never stepping in. They dream with one hand on the escape hatch. They chase success with one foot on the brake. They tell themselves they're trying, but they've never decided. Because decision is terrifying. It means closing the door on the old you. It means burning the bridge that leads back to comfort. It means becoming someone the past version of you would barely recognize. But that's the price of greatness. When Hernan Cortés landed on the shores of the New World, he gave his men an order that echoed through history. Burn the ships, no retreat, no way back. Only forward, only victory or death. That is the level of decision required to rewrite destiny. And you don't need to be a conqueror to claim that power. You just need to burn the internal ships, the ones labeled Plan B, the ones called Someday, the ones that whisper, if it gets too hard, we can always go back. Because once those are gone, your only direction is forward, and that's when you become dangerous. That's when the world starts to move around you instead of through you. That's when hesitation is no longer an option, and excellence becomes your only language. Think about every person who changed the course of humanity. Carnegie, Jobs, Mandela, Oprah. Every single one had moments when they were underestimated, when they had nothing but a vision and a decision. But that decision turned invisible seeds into unstoppable revolution. The steel empire, the iPhone, the end of apartheid, the rise from poverty to power. All of it rooted in one sacred act. Decide who you are and refuse to become anything less. That kind of decision doesn't wait for resources, it creates them. It doesn't wait for permission, it commands the next step. It doesn't ask, can I? It says, watch me. And here's the truth they never tell you. Once you make a decision at that level, the universe conspires with it. Doors open, allies appear, ideas flood in. Not because you're lucky, but because you're finally moving at the frequency of destiny. But that frequency doesn't tolerate doubt. It doesn't resonate with halfway. It's tuned only to certainty. Not certainty of outcome, but certainty of self. The inner knowing that says, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know this is the path, and I will walk it, no matter what tries to stop me. Because life will test your decision. It will throw storms at your sails and knives at your back. People will doubt you. The path will darken. The comfort you sacrificed will whisper your name like a siren song. But when the decision is real, you won't flinch. You'll rise. You'll move. You'll adapt. Not by shrinking, but by sharpening. Because you've already buried the old self. You've already crossed the invisible line from potential to purpose. You've already looked fear in the face and said, not today, not ever again. And that's when your story begins. Not the version they tell in highlight reels and magazine covers, but the real one. The one written in silence, sweat, and unseen nights of grinding. The one written with blood, belief, and unshakable resolve. Not because it was easy. Not because you were certain, but because you decided.